Coming up in tonight's bulletin, Pacific Island students fighting climate change receives the Right Livelihood Award. SINPF announced 8% crediting rate for 2025 for its members. And Solomon Islands has issued a strong call for renewed global commitment to nuclear disarmament and accountability for wartime legacies. Hello, you're watching SIBC's TV News Bulletin. I'm Sharon Nanao. All eyes are on the Pacific as the Pacific Islands students fighting climate change receives the Right Livelihood Award for their unwavering efforts to bring climate change and state responsibility to the world's highest court. The award is shared with writer and human rights lawyer from Guam, Julian Aguan, who played a central role in securing the 2025 International Court of Justice advisory opinion. Andrea Mahanua reports.
A major win for climate justice, and it comes from the Pacific. The Pacific Islands students fighting climate change has been awarded the 2025 Right Livelihood Award, honoring their tireless efforts to bring climate change and state responsibility to the world's highest court. The youth-led organization led a historic campaign urging the International Court of Justice to rule on legal state obligations to fight climate change. This year, the court ruled in their favor, saying states must act to protect the environment and future generations.
These young people are confronted with the breakdown of their communities, of their countries. As you know, there are first resettlement programs now for Pacific nations, and they didn't accept that fate. They saw how painfully slow international climate negotiations were, but they figured that there are other instruments in international law, and they went for the highest court, taking, as they said, the world's biggest problem to the highest court, and went for the biggest prize, which is an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice, as there was one on nuclear weapons in the 1990s. And they won because they were together, the student movement and Julian and many others, because they were so successful in bringing voices from all around the world who are at the front lines of being hit by climate change to the International Court of Justice. And it is probably has the same or more historical importance than the Paris Agreement, because it has massively strengthened international climate law away from voluntary commitments to really binding obligations between states, and opens the way for lots of other legal action that we will certainly see over the coming years.
Among the members of the organization are Solomon Islanders Cynthia Honiara and Solomon Yo.
So, for Pacific Island students fighting climate change, most of our members come from frontline communities of the adverse effects of climate change. So when we talk about sea level rise, we do not just talk about it, we live it and we see it. It's our everyday realities for our people on the ground. And so what we are trying to achieve will really benefit our loved ones and our families that are experiencing the climate crisis at a very existential level. Even in this case that we brought towards the ICJ, it was the people's testimony that we carried. And these are stories that are not easy to tell, but the people have generously given the time and as well as sacred stories so that the court can understand the gravity of the issue for our people.
I think honor is an understatement, because some of the laureates are personal friends and people who personally I respect very much. And to have our organization joining together beside you and sharing this award, it's truly, truly a privilege. I hope that our organization can work further with these individuals who are very, very unique and committed to the respective work that they do. And I'm sure many of our work has synergies. It's overlapping. And I think as young people from our organization, we actually have a lot to learn from many of the people who have received this award.
Since its establishment in 2019, the organization has connected the Pacific struggle to a wider movement, creating a civil society alliance of over 1,700 organizations. This achievement is now expected to inspire others, showing that collective action can drive real global change.
We always say the award is just the beginning of our relationship with the Lord, so we will continue to connect people across these struggles. And then third, we also want to inspire a larger public of people who may not even, these 5 causes may not be the ones that they care most about, but still we hope to convince people that their actions make a difference wherever they stand, and in that way also, from our side, contribute to deepening kind of an active democracy around the world.
What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now.
Andrea Mahanwa for SIBC TV.
SINPF has declared an 8% crediting rate for 2025 for its members, the highest in 5 years. Alex Dadamu reports.
Members of the Solomon Islands National Provident Fund throughout the country and beyond, I now have the pleasure to officially announce a crediting rate of 8% for our members for the financial year ending 30 June 2025.
The Solomon Islands National Provident Fund SINPF has paid over SBD $274.9 million into the accounts of its members as it announced an 8% crediting rate for 2025 yesterday. The fund's crediting rate announcement also saw the announcement of the special death benefit being raised from SBD $8,500 to SBD $10,000.
A total interest of $274,908,820 will be credited to your accounts as from 30 September 2025. As part of the fund's annual announcement, I would also like to announce a special death benefit of SBD 10,000. This is an increase of 1,500 on 2024 amount of 8,500.
Representing a majority of SINPF members, the Solomon Islands Council of Trade Union acknowledged the announcement, describing it as not bad.
Yeah, me plan put out a statement, but we're happy. Hemi for 8%, Hemi not bad. We were looking at something little bit bigger than that, but Hem not lower than the 8% that he announced here. So I'm sure all the workers out there are relatively happy with him, the announcement today, considering what other announcement or previous years go finish.
The 8% crediting rate is the highest in 5 years. Crediting rates being announced over the years saw 3.7% interest announced in 2020, 6% in 2021, 2.65% in 2022, 6% in 2023, and 4% in 2024. Alex Dadamu for SIBC TV.
Now, as the Pacific region marks 40 years since the adoption of the South Pacific Nuclear Free Zone Treaty, Solomon Islands has issued a strong call for renewed global commitment to nuclear disarmament and accountability for wartime legacies. Prime Minister and Chair of the Pacific Island Forum Leaders, Honorable Jeremiah Manele, made the call when delivering his statement at the 80th United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York recently. He said the impacts of nuclear testing and the unresolved dangers of World War II unexploded ordnance, UXO, can be found across the Pacific.
Madam President, Solomon Islands reaffirm its strong commitment for the total elimination of nuclear weapons. This year, the Pacific celebrates 40 years since the adoption of the South Pacific Nuclear Free Treaty. The Pacific has been used to test weapons, store nuclear waste, and discharge treated nuclear water. We see the scars of nuclear impacts and will remain the world's strongest advocates for a world free of nuclear weapons. Unexploded ordnance from World War II remains a threat to our communities, people, and obstruct development. Solomon Islands would like to acknowledge the United States, Japan, and Australia in disposing World War II UXOs and carcinogenic substances buried in our land and seas left behind from World War II. This is the cruel reality of a war we never chose, yet whose scars we continue to carry. Justice demands that those responsible accept their duty to help heal the wounds they left behind. And it is only by standing better together in solidarity, with shared responsibility and compassion, that we can finally close this painful chapter of history and build a safer, more just future for our people.
Members of the local media are currently undergoing a 3-day training on strengthening media parliament's collaboration in Honiara. Elisa Kukutu reports.
Members of the local media are currently undergoing training on strengthening media parliament collaboration in Honiara. The 3-day training is supported by the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, aiming to help media practitioners better cover parliamentary proceedings and gain a clearer understanding of the basic functions and processes of Parliament.
And Hemi basically just for helping me for assisting mainstream media for understanding mostly all the roles and functions for Parliament, but also for introducing more the tool for a new concept of a parliamentary press gallery, where we like for introducing 2026. At the same time, we work towards creating a communication strategy for National Parliament, where we hope that by me good for guiding me for side reporting and assisting to other journalists me for much more accurate reporting, and also for future liaisons between media and parliamentary communications.
As part of the training, participants had the opportunity to visit the National Parliament.
Day one, him basically just a pretty open schedule day, where we've taken with us participants go to Parliament, just for introducing some different departments apart from just media. So from what me sabe, I go visit them Hansard committees, procedures, also just for look around in the house, blame me with the history where you got a Parliament House.
More collaboration between Parliament and the media is expected to result from this training, mainly in improving the accuracy and accessibility of information shared to the public.
Accuracy, dissemination of any information from Parliament or any political body is very important. Sometimes you give him the wrong information, hence causing the wrong reaction too. So for me, follow Parliament, the dissemination of accurate, factual information is very important. People talk about him interests, issues will affect him. So for him, give him the wrong information and someone him wrongly interpret him, I'm creating a very wrong, negative environment. So the power of information is very important in Parliament. Working with media, I have a big priority for get them to whatever him come from the horse's mouth. What you mean, everyone got the same understanding. But you mean democracy, You mean democracy where you can have your say, but it's not no use of having a good say if it's the wrong say.
For SIBC TV, I'm Elisa Kukutu.
Honourable Mane Mahaga has pledged to bring the long-awaited Solomon Islands National Provident Fund SINPF reform bill to Parliament before the end of 2026. Alex Dodamo with more on this story.
The Minister of Finance and Treasury, Trevor Mane Mahaga, announced his commitment to bring the new Solomon Islands National Provident Fund SINPF reform bill to Parliament before the end of 2026. Honourable Mane Mahaga highlighted that despite the bill being worked on for over 10 years now, it is yet to reach the Parliament.
I would like to dwell a bit on the proposed new legislation bill for SINPF. This is a very important bill. It has been for a while now. The SINPF bill has been progressed more than 10 years ago. Started, still not going to Parliament. It has been my commitment as the Minister of Finance that I will bring the new SINPF reform bill to Parliament before the end of 2026.
He stressed that the new SINPF bill will modernize the operation of the fund.
The new SINPF legislation will modernize the operation of the fund and will also allow members to grow their wealth for their retirement whilst they are still in employment, and also to meet their short-term financial needs. The Private Sector Development Initiative, PSDI of the Asian Development Bank, with the support of the Australian government, is drafting the new bill, with the support of my team at the Ministry of Finance and Treasury and the SINPF board. The government recognizes that reforming the SINPF law has been long overdue, and we are progressing to make this happen and transform SINPF to a modern retirement fund.
SIBC TV understands that the SINPF reform bill was initially proposed to be tabled in Parliament by the end of this year by the then Minister of Finance and Treasury, Manasseh Sogovare, when he announced the crediting rate for the 2024 financial year. Alex Dadamu for SIBC TV.
Turning trade into opportunities, Zain Dimaseda is sewing her way to success. Running a thriving home-based business in Honiara that's not only generating income, but empowering other women to follow their dreams. Andrea Mahanua reports.
Sewing is more than just a hobby for Zain Dimaseda. It is a source of income and empowerment. Zain runs a thriving home-based business in Honiara, piecing together stylish handbags to custom purses and scrunchies.
During COVID time, I had to go anywhere to for materials and stuff. But this idea, I'm stay finish with me. Me only dream no matter masks and something for just for this COVID But after that for a period, me start dream na bags and through Facebook and also me. Up to where I'm now this time. Dima is my great-grandmother's name. My mother's name is also Dima. And myself, my middle name is Dima. And Dr. Blomi also named Dima too. So that's how special, that's why the name of Akara. Dima, me never met him before, but me heard him from stories. She's a fearless and strong woman. So me decide for Karimona name as my business name, with confidence and dignity as well.
Balancing home life and running a full-time tailoring business comes with its challenges. However, Zain remains determined.
Biggest challenge for me is being a full-time tailor, because you can't be a full-time tailor when you have a toddler running around. But I'd say thank you to my customers for daily orders every day. That's how keeping me coming back up. So that's not a sign to give up. I think my biggest success for looking at girls and women's Karim Odima products everywhere in town, and also low markets and social media.
Social media platforms have played a major role in promoting her products, drawing in customers from around Honiara and even overseas. Zain encourages other women and girls to make their business dreams a reality.
If you plan for doing something, then go for it. If you sit down, I think for long, but I have no workout too. Hard for anything workout. So, let me say, find him capital, you somewhere. Start small. Eventually, by you get there, time you on top the base. True na. If me no do main thing, but me had focus him too. Me him. So, but me say I'm all about willingness. You have to earn him.
Andrea Mahanwa for SIBC TV.
And that's news. Follow us on sibconline.com.sb and our SIBC News Facebook page for more of our latest stories. Thanks for watching.